The purveyor of fun and founder of Palette Community, and welcome to the Here For It Live program. This show is my chance to talk one-on-one with inspiring members of our community and beyond about how to show up as your authentic self in career and in life. And today, my guest is Dr. and Coach Manuel Astruc. I have had you on the show before, and you're always such a pleasure to speak to and so informative and inspiring, and that's what it's all about. So you are coming to us live from your office, and you have this really cool new technology or machine or modality, would you call it, the TMS machine. And it is, well, I'm hoping you'll go more further into it, but basically in a nutshell, it's an alternative treatment to depression, FDA approved, and it's quite remarkable. But there are a couple of hoops you got to jump through in order for it to be effective. So tell us more about this machine, and thanks again for being here.
Well, as always, Catherine, it's always just a pleasure to talk to you. Kind of high level thinking and another like entrepreneur who just kind of gets things done. So much admiration for what you have accomplished, and for the audience that you have here. So I'll talk a little bit about the machine, but then I also wanted to start to talk about the challenges with a treatment that is not well known, and it's a marketing challenge. And as a physician, as a psychiatrist, that's not something that I've ever really had to deal with before. So it's kind of an interesting thought process. As an entrepreneur and as a coach, I have been thinking about marketing for a long time, but this is new. So
as a doctor, as a psychiatrist, I would assume, again, correct me if I'm wrong, most of your clients come for as referrals, right? So there's another primary care physician or the hospital refers patients to you, and that's kind of like your funnel, if you will.
You're exactly right. And the good thing for me, it's not necessarily great for the community, is that there's a shortage of psychiatrists. As long as I've been in the field, in my private practice I've had here for over 20 years, it's hard to find psychiatrists. It's hard to find a lot of kinds of different doctors out there. So just by the fact that I opened the door and let some other doctors know that I was here, the referrals started coming through. I literally didn't have to do anything.
Yeah, well, that's nice. That's a good problem to have, I suppose. But also,
Yeah.
it's also kind of, the whole process of finding a psychiatrist or therapist that is going to help you with these issues, depression, anxiety. I mean, a whole slew of things. Or there's a large spectrum that people come to talk to you about. There's got to be a connection between you and the patient, right? And obviously, from the patient side of it, that can be tricky. I've heard from others, it's almost like dating. You have to go and you have to keep on trying it out until you find the person that's gonna, connect with you and support you in a way that you need to be supported. So it's not always, I feel like I can talk to a brick wall. I'm very open, transparent. I have like very little shame. I'm very honest about the problems I've had in the past or currently have. But not everyone's like that. They want to make sure that they're connected with their psychiatrist or therapist. And I mean, again, it can be difficult. And slim pickings, right? So like, there's not that many people out there. You kind of have to get what you get. And that's kind of sucks.
Right. When you don't have a lot of choice in the marketplace, that kind of sucks. That's called the monopoly, right? So there's few psychiatrists. There's more therapists that do the talk therapy piece. As a psychiatrist, what I bring to the table is, my knowledge of medications and the ability to diagnose. And for many reasons, we kind of focus on that. And I know we've had the discussion before that it would be helpful to go deeper with a client, a patient, and not just do medications, but do therapy. And I 100% agree with that. However, what happens is that because there's such a shortage of psychiatrists, we tend to focus mainly on the medication aspect and, the medication evaluations, and then we let the therapists do the therapy. either way, you talk about dating. I say it's kind of like finding a pair of jeans that fit, right? So there's a lot of good jeans out there. The fact that one fits or doesn't fit doesn't mean that it's a bad pair of jeans. It's just that you want to be looking around for the ones that feel right and look right. And with finding a therapist or a psychiatrist, it's the same thing. It's a little harder when you don't have a lot of choices. So if someone doesn't like me, they don't click well with me, uh, it's a little bit of a harder switch to find someone else.
Yeah, and the other part of it too is I think when people don't connect with a psychiatrist, they just quit. They just up and quit. And they're like, okay, that didn't work and I'm done. When
Yeah.
really it's like you really should keep on trying. You should even
Yeah.
communicate to that very doctor or therapist and say, like, look, I'm not feeling this. Is there someone else you can refer to me? And just keep on going down. I mean, it seems like a rabbit hole, but you got to keep on going. And I will speak freely about this. It's like, therapy is amazing. I love it. It really has changed my life. It's changed my relationships, my outlook, my perspective, everything. So I implore people to just keep at it and just keep putting themselves out there, being honest, and having hope that there is an opportunity to improve your life when you do the work. And then the other thing I want to talk to you about too is, like the 1-2 punch, right? Where it's like you gotta do the meds, you gotta do the therapy. Not everybody, but again, in my experience, it's taken the therapy, the meds, the work. It's a multitude of things that you have to apply to get a solution or the results that you want.
No, so absolutely correct. Medications can be incredibly helpful, but the combination of therapy and medications is very, very helpful. I mean, that's the gold standard. When I have a patient who I'm seeing for medications and I'm referring them to a therapist, I always tell them, give them a chance, think 4 to 6 sessions. Don't make up your mind on session number 1. And if somewhere in there, unless there's an absolute deal breaker of an interaction, if you're not feeling it, it's okay to bring that up. Talk about it, right? And that's what I would want with a patient who isn't feeling it with me. Like if the meds aren't working or you don't like the side effects, tell me about them. And if there's something going on in the interactions that we're having that are not okay, let me know. We can't fix something or work on it if we don't know about it.
Yeah, and then so what's really exciting about the TMS machine, and again, I when I learned about this, I was like, oh my God, this is brilliant. Like, why can't we introduce this concept or this modality sooner? So can you kind of speak to there are times when the therapy doesn't work and the meds don't work, and you get to that place where you're just like feeling so frustrated and hopeless, and I can't be fixed. And now you're coming to me and you're saying, actually, there is something more that we can do. So please tell us more.
So TMS is exciting because it does help people who medications have not worked for, but it's exciting for a couple of other reasons. The big picture overview of how TMS works is that there are very strong magnetic coils that are fitted inside a helmet in our particular brand of machine that you put over your head, and you pulse the magnets with a current. As a result of the magnets going on and off, there's an electrical current that is applied to the very surface of your brain, and it feels like someone's knocking on your head like a woodpecker. And over the course of treatment, which is 5 days a week, 30-minute sessions for 4 to 6 weeks, we can get very substantial improvements or a complete remission of depression. And that's because we're resetting the way the front part of the brain is working and how it's communicating with the deeper emotional centers of the brain. There's connections there that have that are out of balance. And this is a different way of balancing them than medications. Now, TMS, the modality, has been around for years. It was actually FDA approved about 10 years ago. And when the FDA approved it, they said you can use TMS after you have failed 1 antidepressant. So that's what they have approved it for. Doesn't mean that you can't use it beforehand, but you're going off label, which we do with a lot of medications. But what they have said is one medicine failure, you're allowed to use TMS. Now, insurance companies have different rules. So they generally want you to have failed 3 or 4 medications in a course of psychotherapy before they'll grant approval for TMS if your insurance company is going to pay for it. If someone's willing to pay out of pocket for the treatment, then they can have that treatment whenever they want. We're not then limited by what the insurance company is requesting, and there's good reasons for why insurance companies will regulate these sorts of things. It's costly compared to a medication, and they have an entire patient population that they're trying to take care of. That being said, there's also a lot of arguments that can be made that, if a physician says this is the next best step for you, then it should be the next best step for you without the insurance getting involved. So just one more thing. When we look at that group of patients who have failed medications, so they failed 3 medications or 4 medications, the chances that we make a medication adjustment, the 5th or the 6th medication adjustment, that's going to provide a robust response is 5 or 10%, right? So the chances are not great, but it's what we have available to us, and it's what I do all day long. If we use TMS as that next modality, the chances of getting a response or a remission are 50 to 70%, right? So, the way that I'm thinking of TMS is that I would like to have it be something that's offered earlier and earlier in treatment for those patients who are able to afford that, and then also to be advocating for that change with insurance companies over time.
I don't know if this is going to be a popular opinion, but it seems like the pharmaceutical industry has a lot to do with why this modality that is more effective or can be more effective isn't used sooner.
I think that there's a lot of barriers to it, and the discussion of the whys, it's hard to get in there. The medical system is so complicated. Like to try to get in there and fix it, like roll up your sleeves, it's like whack-a-mole. So we have what we have, and it's how do we take the best care of our patients and do the best by them that we're able to. And yeah, so there's a lot of problems in the medical system for sure.
So, and what you're kind of like up against now is that you have this amazing treatment. It is, between 50 and 70% effective after, these other things that you've tried. And we got to get the word out, right? Like, so now
Right.
You're kind of like, you're having this
Right.
experience of what it's like to market something that,
Right.
first of all, it seems like no one knows about this, right? Like no one has any awareness that this even exists. And so there's this this education piece, this awareness piece that you have to kind of take on your own, and that's not something that you've ever really had experience with as a doctor or physician.
Right. So what's so funny is that as in my private practice, I've never really had to deal with that. As a coach, it's one of my passions and interests is learning about marketing and copywriting and all the things that go into selling a service to an audience, a group of individuals that don't necessarily know who you are and what they need and things like that. So it's been an interest of mine for years and years, and now I get to like apply what I've learned to my private practice, and that's just been a lot of fun.
Well, and very rewarding, right? Don't you feel like you can now see the impacts to your business from the practice side and the coaching side once you apply these tools, and you use the resources you leverage the resources that you have to amplify the message, and you're seeing the conversion. And now it seems to me that you're like, oh my God, this really works. Like, let's
Well,
tell more people about it.
so hopefully in a month I'm telling you exactly that. But we're just starting with the campaigns. We knew that the TMS was going to be in our office. We knew that we needed to start something, and then getting the plan planned, and then getting the people who are going to execute on it, and then starting the execution. That took a little time. So the content marketing plan just started at the beginning of February. We've been in the works with it for a couple of months, but it has just started. It's a little early to say whether it's going to be effective. I have every reason to believe it's going to be effective, but it's something I've never done before. So we have to wait and see what the results are, right? That's what entrepreneurs do. We take the risk.
You take the risk, but you're also having fun, right? Don't you? You just
100%.
love this stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it's 100%. And an interesting thing, like a strategic byproduct that I wasn't really expecting. What's happened is, as I'm doing the marketing, it's in many ways bringing my psychiatric practice and my coaching practice closer and closer. My coaching practice, I never have really leaned on the authority of being a psychiatrist, and we've had this conversation before where you're like, that's dumb. Like, you should really be doing that.
I don't know that I called you dumb.
No, you didn't say that. You were very honest. You said, like, you should be doing that, and it was there were reasons I did what I did when I did them, but it's not necessary not to be able to talk about my experience as a psychiatrist when I talk about coaching. Yeah, and you were definitely nicer than saying dumb. Like, you would never say that to me.
Well, it was just one of those things when I first met you, I knew of you, and your reputation preceded you. And I remember talking to you, and you were just like, no, you don't have to call me doctor. And I'm like, you should make everyone call you doctor. You went to medical school, you have so much experience. And I think there's another audience out there that, wouldn't necessarily take a coach seriously, but because you are a doctor, they feel more comfortable taking your advice. It's not just, you're not just coaching, you actually have all of this experience behind you that you can leverage and speak to. And I just think it absolutely, creates a stronger credibility. And you have all are you still paying medical school loans? I feel like those last a lifetime.
No, so med school is paid off. Med school is paid off. Yeah, thank goodness. Yeah, but that's a big expense for sure.
Yeah, no, I think it absolutely adds to your credibility. I know people personally who would prefer to work with a coach that is a physician or a psychiatrist versus someone that is a coach. And obviously I love that. Like, I'm big on coaching. I think that's why you and I connected so well, because managing meds only takes you so far. And therapy can only take you so far. Sometimes if you're a highly ambitious person and you need to set goals, which in my opinion, I think everyone needs goals in their lives. The coach piece of it is the accountability that everyone, I think, should have. I mean, it's why teams have coaches. It's why I love to use Beyonce as an example. I'm sure she has a choreography coach. I'm sure she has someone coaching her with her finances. Like, everyone has a coach, and even as far advanced and as successful as you may feel you've made it, all of those people that I've met that have been very successful, who I admire, and I think, like, wow, they've really gotten there, they have coaches.
That's right. That's right. And there's a psychologist, Carol Kaufman. She's the head of Harvard's Institute of Coaching. She says that therapy follows the trail of tears to find the pain and to heal the pain, and coaching follows the trail of dreams to help you achieve the dreams that you want to achieve.
Yeah, and I really feel like, maybe I'm on a soapbox here, but I think that you really can't accomplish something until you really believe that you can accomplish it, and I think that I'm sure there are times and experiences where people believe that they could accomplish something, and then they find that they don't have the support around them, or they have the people around them don't believe that they can accomplish it. So it's like it's
Right.
important to have, you need all lanes occupied, to really, you need to believe you can accomplish something, but it's also really encouraging and supportive, and a contribution to my success has been having people around me who also believe that I can accomplish these things. And so, yeah, it just takes like all those forces and energy, whatever you want to call it, at that same goal. And I mean, I think the accountability piece is huge, putting it out there that like, you're going to lose the weight, or you're going to open this business, or, I'm going to, start this new thing. It's just like putting it out there is so important. And I think a lot of people fall short on communicating or sharing what it is they're working on, because out of for a lot of reasons, fear, what will people think, what if I don't accomplish the goal. I don't know, I take pride in like not just accomplishing the goal, but also telling people what didn't work, right? Like
Yeah.
in my own life, it's like, I really do believe like failure is the mother of success. You have to fail in order to succeed, and no one who has ever succeeded like didn't do so without also failing, if that makes any sense.
100%, right? So the failing is what gives you the feedback to be able to change and see what works and what doesn't work. And one of the things you hit on are a couple of words that are really important. One is confidence, and everybody wants to feel confident. And unfortunately, when you're trying new things, it's very hard to feel confident. I think that you can have confidence in your ability to figure things out, but the confidence that you're going to make it is hard to come by till you're actually almost there. And what you need before confidence is commitment. That's the public declaration of I'm going to do this and I'm committed to this. And then there's a courage step of going through the fears of I'm going to do this, and it's hard and I'm not sure, but acknowledging and validating the fact that there's fear and that there's courage. And courage never feels good. One of the coaches I go to, Dan Sullivan, he says,
wait a minute, time out.
Yeah.
You have a coach. You even have a coach.
Oh, I've got many coaches. Yeah. I spend a lot of money on coaching, right? From EO, and EO is probably the best bargain going out there for coaching and accountability. But I'm in multiple high-end coaching groups to help me to get to where I want to go. But Dan Sullivan says, courage never feels good, right? Confidence feels good. That's what we want to get to. Courage never feels good.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a scary thing to put yourself out there.
Yeah.
I mean, even for me, I put myself out there all the time, and it's just like I feel like I use self-deprecation as a means to kind of like I don't know what the word is, like, well, I don't know what the word is. Yeah, like just to balance out the fear, where it's like, and I also just feel like I'm not the only person out here doing this, like I'm not the only person who had this idea to open up a community space and support women. That's not, we're not really reinventing the wheel. I'm just doing it the way that I know that it would benefit me. And I just think it's scary. It's absolutely scary. It's definitely a financial risk, a risk on my mental health and relationships, all those things, so it's absolutely scary. I think it's funny when people will tell me, they're like, oh, you have no fear. And it's like, that couldn't be farther from the truth. I'm absolutely scared. But you do it anyway. And I think the faith that I have in myself, that I am going to be able to figure it out, or again, asking for help. Like I'm absolutely not afraid to ask people help. Like if people want to tell me no, I'm not personally offended by it if they're like, I can't help you, but I'm always asking for help, and asking people if they want to come along for this crazy ride that I'm embarking on. And there's constant turns and things you just can't even fathom being thrown at you. But I just think that the faith that it's going to get figured out, or that I will figure it out, or you just keep connecting the dots until eventually you're there. And and when you're there, for me, it's so much more enjoyable to be there with others.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean that's all so well said, and you're just a great example of someone who doesn't hesitate in spite of fear to take action. I mean, I still remember when we had a conversation right at the beginning of lockdown, and shortly afterwards, and we were talking, and you said, things had to change, but you were like, immediately, we got to change some things. It wasn't about we got to stop, we got to give up. It's like, no, people, like, let's start looking for other ways to succeed here. And you absolutely crushed it during, COVID lockdowns with a community co-working space. Like, like, what a testimony to courage and perseverance and your skill sets.
Well, I just think it's like, I don't know, like, and I think we did have this conversation where I'm like, well, what do people expect? People, like, what do you expect to happen? Like,
Right.
we're all humans, so we have a resiliency in us, and it's unless we're flexing that muscle and kind of experiencing as it comes, I don't know any other way but to survive, and figure out how to make things happen and find the people. And I think, again, after there's extreme chaos or catastrophe or uncertainty, you almost, like, the people who are the helpers, the people who do know, just in like an intuitive, they know what to do next. They're very easy to find when there's like tragedy or chaos, or those are the really easy people to spot at that point. And I always say, like, hitch your wagon to a doer, hitch your wagon to a helper, someone who, like, enjoys being of service to other people. And when you can connect to those people, you just keep growing.
Yeah.
Right? Duh.
100%. 100%.
What is there? Tell everybody, like, what is the best way to get a hold of you? I mean, obviously you're a member at Palette. You have an office on Maple Avenue in Saratoga Springs. I think you're very accessible. I know you're always open to people reaching out if they need anything. I know we had a lot of people interested in the machine and learning more. And do you ever think about doing, like, an informational, like, kind of Q&A with folks about who might be interested in learning more about
Sure. And that's actually part of the content plan that we're putting out right now. So I'll lay out the content plan as it exists, and how I'm thinking about it. So it's all about social media, which I've never really used that much of, but I'm recording a weekly 10-minute YouTube video. And I record like a month or two at a time. And I'm doing this with Baker PR. So I go to their studios. I've picked, a handful of topics that I can record. They record them, they edit them. And then one a week gets dropped into YouTube. But then it's also going into a couple of other social media channels where people can follow me. So it's going on Facebook under Manuel Astruc MD. It's on my LinkedIn page, and it's on Instagram, which I have never done Instagram. I didn't even know what it was, but I'm now on Instagram. So Manuel Astruc MD is the handle. So at the beginning of the week, we put out the 10-minute talk, and then they're slicing and dicing the talks to do carousels. They're doing shorter vignettes. They're doing reels. They're doing quotes. So every day there's content dropping on all these channels. We're going to do a month of that. And then the next month, there'll actually be some calls to action to get people to the website, to collect email addresses, to do Q&As, to have an ability to interact. But the social media is going to be, I think, where a lot of the Q&As are going to happen. And then absolutely, if there's ever a time to do a webinar or seminar or something like that, we'll be super open to that. What's great for me is that all I need is 60 clients for the year to be super successful. And if we stir up more than 60, then I'll have a good problem. I need another machine. I need more
Another
space.
machine.
And those are all good things to solve, right? Those are doable and good things for the community and for everyone around here. But that's the new strategy that I've never done before. I'm on social media and people can follow me there.
Yes, awesome. So Manuel Astruc, MD, on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, and I think what the most important piece of all this is that using social media. It can, I mean, I think some people have like just a really bad relationship with social media. Like they become addicted to it, or they're like comparing themselves to everything they see on social media. The way that we use it at Palette, the way that I use it on my personal page is just to share my story, share my experience, and hope. Or I mean, I actually know that it has impacted people's, like, they see me, falling in the snow. They see me, being honest about what a chaotic life I have here in my household with these 3 kids and 2 businesses, and I'm just honest, and I think it makes other people feel like they're not alone. And I think for you, it's just getting the word out, letting people know, like sharing your experience, instead of
Right.
just, one-on-one helping people. You can help people, like, you can just expose and amplify the message largely just to so many more people. And you're just such a wealth of information and experience and wisdom. And so you got to tell people about this.
Right. And whether people ultimately use TMS or not, there's just a lot of good information in terms of depression and diagnosis and medications and alternatives. There's no end. And the way that people can help me to create more content, more targeted content, is to ask questions on, talk about this, talk about that. That'll help me to focus in on what people need.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you. I know that I always think about you, like, what would he say about this? So it's like your little bug in my ear, and I appreciate you just so much. And like, we're gonna talk again because I feel like there's like a book coming out one day soon.
There absolutely is a book coming out. I'm 90 to 95% done with it. So a couple of more hard pieces to figure out with it, but it's almost there. Yep.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait. I'm so excited. We have a book club at Palette, so maybe you'll have to read your book and we'll have to have you come and do a little program with us about that.
Oh my gracious, what a blast that would be. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, definitely. Definitely. I mean, and I think like you're going to have multiple books, right? Like multiple books, multiple messages. And I just feel like we're on the cusp. I mean, so far you've grown so much in, just in the last, has it been 2 years, maybe 3 years that we've known each other and we've been working
Yeah.
with each other. So that's what kind of what happens when you're surround yourself with people who are encouraging and inspiring and, supportive. You just keep on growing and evolving.
And that's why I joined Palette, right? It's really the people and the experience and the energy. You're just awesome. Yeah. Palette's awesome.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much. It certainly is a lot of work, but I love it. I love doing the work, and it's certainly something that I'm passionate about. So thank you for sharing yourself with us, and thanks for being here for it, and we will see you again soon.
Thanks, Catherine.
All right, bye.
Yep.